Well, joining us now on This is the Day is Mira Sorvino, Oscar-winning actress and UN Goodwill ambassador. And we are taping this interview during the day of International Day of Charity. The UN has commissioned that, and it commemorates the anniversary of the death of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. So thank you so much, first of all, Mira, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Maybe if you could talk about this day and the importance of recognizing charity and how it can help alleviate some of the suffering that is around the world.
Yes. Well, I think anyone looking out at the world can see plainly that there is so much suffering, so much poverty, so much abuse and indignity, and I think that it really is on all of us who see it and who have any sort of wherewithal to do something on our side to help alleviate that suffering or that imbalance or wherever we see it. If everyone found something that their heart called to them about, because I think people have individual callings for what kind of cause or charity or suffering that they wish to get involved in alleviating, we could all make such a huge dent in the problems that we're facing if instead of just musing on it and feeling sad about it, being aware of it, if we actually committed to action against it, then I think we could really see real change on a global scale. And Mother Teresa was an enormous exemplar of this kind of life-changing charity, about devoting her life to others. And I think she's an inspiration for us all. And that's why on this day, the UN has commemorated the anniversary of her death, with a call to an action of the heart, because it's really a call to our hearts to say, like, hey, what do we feel like we kind of want to or should be doing, but we're just not doing it because life gets in the way. This is the day to say, you know what? I'm going to find that one thing. I'm going to find out more about it. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to actually start being involved in volunteerism, in charity and philanthropy, to make my own small difference, because everybody can make a small difference, but together we can make enormous differences.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit too, Mother Teresa, and how important it is as a figurehead for this day as well, and her order, Missionaries of Charity as well, is a great way to do that too. And maybe if you could speak on that a little bit more too, about the calling that she had and how she committed to it, as you're saying too. If everybody just takes a little piece of, she took on a big piece of charity as well, but how that little bit helped inspired so many people, and the missionaries of charity all over the world right now. But just one little person made a difference like that.
Yeah, we have this list of quotes that she uttered, and they're really very, like, beautiful and simple. She wasn't about, like, the impossible grand gesture. So she said, we do not need guns and bombs to bring peace. We need love and compassion. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today. Let us begin. So it's just about taking that first step of charity, that first step of involvement. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. And God doesn't require us to succeed. He only requires that you try. I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together, we can do great things. So it goes on. She has all of this, basically compelling every caring person to be like, well, is there a little something you can do?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for the whole thing. I'm just asking for a small thing. Is there something you could start small with, even if it's close to home? Is it someone you're close to? Start with that person. Start with helping one person, and then see where it takes you. And in my life, I've specifically dedicated much of the last 20 years to the fight against human trafficking. I started with Amnesty International as their Stop Violence Against campaign spokesperson, under which umbrella I learned about the phenomenon of human trafficking, which currently is an over $250 billion a year criminal enterprise.
Wow.
It's tied with the illegal arms trade, just after drug trade. And There are 40 million people plus living as slaves today, the greatest number in recorded human history, and only 0.6% of them get out. Less than 1% get out. They're either discovered, rescued, or they exit themselves. Most of them, 99% of these people, are still living in a state of torturous bondage, whether it's in labor peonage, labor exploitation, or, you know, the worst, sex trafficking and child sex trafficking in specific.
Yeah.
So I've been a Goodwill ambassador for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime since 2009, and it's been one of the greatest honors and privileges of my life to work specifically on this theme of anti-trafficking.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, when they hear numbers like that, and even too, as we're talking about alleviating suffering around the world, sometimes it seems like a daunting challenge. But as you say, just a little bit, if everybody did a little bit of their parts to do a little bit of help and alleviation, there'd go so much more to alleviating suffering around the world. Thank you so much, Mira, for being with us today. We appreciate it.
And can I point you towards a resource that I created?
Sure.
So people have been coming to me this summer because they've seen a project I was in, and because of the SAG strike, I can't name it.
Yeah.
But it was it dealt with the topic of child sex trafficking. And they're like, oh, this is killing me. What can I do? How can I help? And so I've painstakingly created a very long list of organizations that I trust, many of which I've worked with, others through their reputation. And I put it all on my formerly Twitter, now X page. I'm at Mira Sorvino with the blue check mark, and it's my pinned tweet, and then there's a thread. And it's like a seven page document, broken up over 7 tweets, and it's got all of these different kinds of organizations and also resources just to learn. There's the tip report from the United States State Department where you can learn about what's happening. You can go to polarisproject.com and learn what's happening in the US, region by region, and how trafficking occurs here. And then there's all of these NGOs that you can volunteer for, that you can get involved with. You could have a skill that you don't even realize could help a trafficking victim. If you're a lawyer, you could help them achieve legal aid as they navigate their way through the legal system, because that's often an area where they need help. If you're a comforting person, you can just accompany them on medical visits. If you are a translator, you can help translate a foreign worker who's been trafficked into this country to help them communicate. You can give money if you have money. You can give time if you have time. You can lobby the government to change laws to help these victims and help prevent it in the first place. You can advocate for something called the equality model, which is the greatest harm reduction model for sex trafficking victims, because it decriminalizes the person whose body is being exploited, but it criminalizes the buyer, the John, and the pimp, the seller. And even if there's no pimp, it still criminalizes the John, not the person.
Yeah.
And this is in place in 9 countries, and Maine has just adopted it. We could get it adopted all over the US, and it would make a huge dent of demand, because if people aren't buying commercial sex, traffickers are not putting their forced labor into that marketplace in those slots. So there's lots of ways you can get involved. I know I run on, and you probably have to edit me down, but please take a look at this. Something will jump off the page at you maybe, and you might be inspired.
Could you give that link one more time?
Yeah. So it's at Mira Sorvino on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a pinned tweet, and there's 7 posts, and there's multiple resources for ways to get involved with human trafficking, anti-human trafficking efforts.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Mira. Thank you for your work as well. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And let's return now to the rest of This Is the Day.